Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today I have another Diaclone review for you. We're looking at DA-55 Vehrs Riser Unit 02. In the front of the box here has a little preview of some of the modes. Of course you have the core robot. You have the core robot with a little bit of a backpack for some extra firepower, and that's called, I believe, the maneuver mode. And then very prominently here in the middle you have the machine or vehicle mode. So pretty neat. Not too much going on the top or bottom of the packaging. Over on this side you have a picture of the cannon mode, which is an even larger backpack with some more firepower. And then over here you just have the core robot. Taking a look on the back, again, it does show you a lot of the different modes. It also has the little mech and core walker modes that the Riser Unit 01 had, so very similar in that respect. Also has the bullet mode, some other modes over here, compatibility with the larger robots in the line. So that's just another one of those cool things about Diaclone. There are a bunch of like official modes, I guess, or suggested modes that they put in the directions, but really if you can come up with something and it connects together and you can make it work, you know, there's a lot of possibility with this line, a lot of cross compatibility, which makes it really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy out of the box and we'll take a closer look. Here's everything you get in the box. You have the little core robot, you have the pilot, you have this little like dune buggy piece. I think it looks like the front of a dune buggy with little headlights there. You have this piece, which really, they had one of these for the first unit as well, and I feel like you don't really use this for anything, but I guess maybe it's just a connector piece in case you want to make some random combinations on your own, which is nice. You have this giant cannon assembly here, which I think is pretty cool. It's got a lot of versatility here with these extra joints. I kind of wish it had some kind of like swivel here so that I could turn them from side to side, but unfortunately it doesn't. You can really just kind of go forward and back. You have a lot of range of motion there, but there's no side to side, which is a bummer. The whole turret itself, once you plug it in, can move side to side, and it's actually kind of cool. There is a spot here for a second pilot. You can open up this little seat here, and then a second pilot can sit in there, which is actually pretty cool. But I just wish there was like a side to side swivel so I could move the guns a little bit side to side. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have that. You have this piece here, which will help you connect to like a larger frame later on. We saw how this worked with the 01 unit. Works very similarly here. Then you have this wheel assembly. You have these two extra wheel pieces that will peg into the sides of his legs. You have two guns. Pretty cool, and they do have some movement there at the handle. Then you have these two little radar dish pieces, which also have some movement, as you can see. We have two of those. And then we have four of these connector pieces again, which very similarly to the 01 will connect on the side so that we can use that track piece I showed off a little bit earlier. So surprisingly, well, really probably not that surprisingly, very similar in transformation to the 01, just with a ground vehicle instead of an air vehicle. So the design of the robot is a little different. But again, I think he looks fantastic. Really nice paint and detailing, and the level of articulation is kind of insane. Now, the head looks like it should move. Does it move? It does, actually. I'm surprised. I didn't think it did. It can swivel from side to side. That's really nice. You have a butterfly joint here. You have a swivel. You have a ball joint in the shoulder, and this piece can actually move. If I rotate this around, you can actually move the shoulder piece like that, so it gives you a little bit out to the side with your shoulder elbow. It's kind of a shoulder, it's kind of an elbow, so that's why I call it shoulder elbow. But you actually have the actual elbow down right below it. Then you have a wrist, and you do have some opening hands as well, which you don't really need because most of the weapons can just slide in, but it does open. You have a little bit of a ab crunch here that's really more for the transformation, but you do have that. Ball joint here in the hip. Do we have a thigh swivel? No, no thigh swivel, but we do have a double jointed knee, as you can see here. And then you do have like an ankle bend there, and then a ball joint in the ankle itself. And then you have two joints here in the hand, which are going to come into play for one of the mech modes, which we'll see a little bit later on. But yeah, I love the little robot. I think the design's great. I think the color scheme is very cool. Really, really neat. Now, of course, for our tiny robot, we need a little pilot. Love the color scheme on this. The red and the purple look really sharp together. Nice silver for the visor. And this has standard articulation. I don't believe the head moves, but you have a ball joint, kind of a limited ball joint in the shoulder. Bend in the elbow, you have an ab crunch, ball joint in the hip, 90 degrees in the knee, and then he's got magnets in his feet, which is pretty cool. So I love these little pilot figures. They're very, very cool, very well done. Come over here, pop this open, just like this. And then I will bend him into a sitting position. Bend his arms as well. And then we will pop him in. And then he'll probably stay in here for the rest of the video. And then close that up. And there you go. Now we have a pilot. We're all set to go. So, I mean, you can go ahead and just give them the guns if you want. You can just wield them pretty easily. And then you have the little radar dish. So you can do something like that if you like. But they do have some official modes here, so we'll go ahead and get into it. For the maneuver mode, you're going to take this little piece, and it wants you to swivel these around. How did I do this? Yeah, swivel these around 180 like this, and then rotate this piece up. Now it tells you to take these completely off and kind of rotate them down, but you can just kind of like lift them away a little bit. There's just a little like nubbin right there, which kind of pegs into this little tab spot right there. So you just kind of have to like lift them away enough to clear the nubbin. You don't really have to take them completely off if you don't want to. It just wants you to kind of put them back a little bit. And then this piece here. Now I believe the directions tell you to peg it in here, but I noticed it moves around a little bit too easy, so I kind of like to peg it in there. But I'll show you this way just to follow the directions. But it feels a little too loose in there. It's easy to knock off, but I'll leave it on there for now and we'll see how it goes. Now it wants you to take one of the other guns and put it in this shoulder. Like so. And then you take these little, see this is already kind of falling off, so I'm just going to go ahead and peg it into the other spot. Because it doesn't have that slit on the side, so it's a better connection. So I'm just going to peg it in there so it doesn't fall off again. Then it's nice and snug. Peg these into the side of the leg. And just kind of put them, you can put them straight down if you want. The directions say to put them at a bit of an angle. It's up to you. But this is the maneuver mode. And there is a smaller like dune buggy mode that we can transform into later on. And it uses all of these pieces. So if you wanted to pretend this guy was like a transformer and just, you know, kept the pieces on when he, you know, then transform into the dune buggy mode, you could. So he does have storage for all the pieces he will need for the dune buggy mode later on. The dune buggy mode has a real name. It's like drive unit or something. I like to call it dune buggy mode because that's what it looks like to me. But yeah, so this is cool. I like this mode a lot. I think this looks pretty neat. He does have a lot more modes to check out though. Next we'll check out the cannon mode. So I've gone ahead and removed the backpack that was on there because we're going to need these two pieces. Now when you get this in the box, this little piece here is pegged underneath, so if you still have it on there, you're going to want to take it off. Then you're going to flip these out like so that's straight across. You're going to take this, and you're going to connect this into the back here like so. And then you can actually kind of pop these sections out to the side, just to give it a little bit of an angle. And then you're going to peg these two spots here onto these two spots on the back, and it's a much better connection this time because you have two. So this is the cannon mode. Now it makes them a little back heavy, but you can bring these up. Let me zoom out a bit here. Bring these up like this, and let me straighten this on the back. And that makes them a little less back heavy because it shifts the weight to the front a little bit, but still pretty heavy. You just have to kind of find the right balance. So that's ridiculous. I mean, I love it. It's a giant, ridiculous cannon for this tiny robot, but that's crazy. It's just such overkill, but I kind of like it. Again, I wish these could move a little bit from side to side, but they can't, so they just kind of hang out there. But that is the oversized, ridiculously large cannon mode. Next up, I'm going to show you the two tiny mech modes, and then we'll go transform into the bullet mode. Alright, so first up we're going to take a look at what I like to call the walker mode. And you're going to transform this very similarly to how we transform the core unit for 0-1. You're going to rotate this back. If you have the shoulders rotated out, you're going to want to swivel this back around the way that it was. And then you're going to bring this up and swivel the arms back, but you're going to have to, actually I guess it's easier if you bring this in, peg that in, and then bring this up and peg this in, and then bring the hand in like that. So you're going to want to repeat that. Make sure you have this swiveled around correctly. Then peg this in. Make sure it's lined up. There we go. Then bring this up, peg that in, and there we go. So you'll have that pretty much completely all pegged back there to store the hands. You're going to swivel this around at the waist, like so. And then you can kind of bend the reverse knees back for the walkers that they always do, like so. And then you're going to take your two guns and just peg them in to what were the shoulders. And there you go. So there's the walker mode. It's kind of neat. I like it. Like I said, it definitely reminds me of something out of Macross or something like that. But very cool. If we go now to the mech mode, actually we're going to leave these in, and all you really need to do is spin this back around, pop this up, and then turn these feet into little pincer claws. And there you go. You have the mech mode, so that this just kind of floats around and grabs things with the pincer claws. So that's the mech mode. And then to transform it into the bullet mode, which is the cockpit mode, you're just going to straighten these out again and then bring this in, and this will go straight like that and then peg in against the body. So you can see that there's a tab right there and a tab spot right there. So you're just going to straighten out the legs, make sure that they come in and sit flat, and then peg these in like so. Why are you not pegging in, sir? There we go. And there you go. There is the bullet mode, which is what they call the cockpits. And there you go. The head can still kind of move around, which is hilarious to me, but there you go. And now we can start to do some of the vehicle modes. So first we'll take a look at what I like to call the little dune buggy mode. Dune buggy mode transformation is really, really simple. So if you have this set up from before, you're going to bring this back so that those kind of hit those little tabs, and then rotate these little flashlight pieces back around. This is going to pop open, and you can see that there's two pegs right there and there, and that's going to peg underneath to these two in the front right here and here. So you're just going to pop those on to there. Make sure that's nice and pegged on, and then just rotate that down. Then you're going to take these pieces and peg them back onto the sides. And remember earlier when I said if you had that maneuver mode, you could take all those pieces and just straight transform it into this mode. And then you have one gun and one satellite dish. And I mean, if you wanted to do two satellite dishes or two guns, of course you can mix and match, but this is what they have as their official little dune buggy mode. I like it. I think it's still a little goofy that the head just sits right out there, but it's not that big a deal. But this is the little dune buggy mode. Pretty simple. Rolls pretty well, though. I like it. Now to connect to make the larger machine mode, we're going to need two of these pieces. So we can peg them in here, and that gives us the ability to slide that track piece on. So we want to make sure that that's good. And then make sure that this one's on as well. And you have to make sure that they're pegged in enough, because if they're not, then the track won't fit. So then we bring the track piece in, we pop these open, we slide this on to our newly attached track pieces, Then this will slide all the way down, and then you can close these up. So you can see that the track is slid onto those. So that guy is all ready. You're going to bring this piece in. If you have this piece unattached, go ahead and attach it back on. It's really just for storage. Again, it doesn't really matter. But they just have it stored there. You're going to take the large gun section and you're going to peg that on there like so. And then you're literally just going to join this right on here. It's very similar to how we combined for the larger jet mode with 0-1. And there you go. You have your large machine mode. You can move the guns around. They have all this mobility, same as before. They have side-to-side mobility as a whole turret, but not individually. And if you do have a second pilot, you can go ahead and pop this section down and pop your second pilot in there. You could also have these detach and be kind of two separate vehicles. If I can actually, I just pegged these on, now I can't get them off apparently. There we go. You could have this be its own kind of separate vehicle, maybe something like this, and then have the pilot ride back there. If you wanted them to kind of work as two separate vehicles, which I think is kind of neat. So I like that you have all those options and all that playability. And I love that there's a second little cockpit spot over here for this piece. So you can connect those together to make the full large vehicle, or you can kind of have them work separately as two separate little vehicles like that. I just wanted to show off real quick, they do have compatibility with the larger figures, so if you have this guy in the bullet mode, you can go ahead and pop out this core, and then go ahead and pop this guy in, like so. Looks a little silly, especially since he has that tiny head just sticking out, but you absolutely can do it. And then you can come around to the back and use this giant cannon mode here. Flip these back out, and then splay them out a little bit to the side. And then you're going to use these two connectors right here to connect onto those two big peg holes right there on the back. So peg that in, and then you're going to want to bring this around to distribute the weight. And there you go. You have crazy cannons. Looks pretty cool. And you don't have to use that with this core specifically. If you wanted to take this guy out, which is a little bit easier said than done. There we go. And put this one back in. You could still, of course, use these weaponry. So you have some giant cannons here for this guy. And I kind of like the look of the wheels on the back like that. I think that looks really neat. And then you can just bring these down as close as you want. So that's a really cool look. I really like that functionality of being able to pair that with this robot. It looks really cool. So I think this is another great set. Robot modes are great, vehicle modes are great, little mech transformations in between, all great. The compatibility with the larger robots is also very fun. If you're familiar with the Riser Unit 01 that I reviewed previously, you should have no problem picking this one up because a lot of the fundamentals of the transformations are very similar. You know, you have the same kind of small core mecha modes, you have the smaller vehicle, the larger vehicle. All the transformations are fairly similar. Yes, one's an air vehicle, one's a ground vehicle, but the way they transform is very similar. A couple of things. I did forget to mention in this mode that because you have an extra satellite dish and gun, you can store them here on the sides. And also I just noticed on the packaging here that these can extend, and I feel like it didn't say that anywhere in the directions, or if it did, I completely missed it. But yeah, those extend apparently, so that's fun. Wanted to point that out. But yeah, this is definitely a lot of fun. Like I said, I know that these are a little bit pricier. I think this was somewhere like 60 to 70 before shipping, so they're not cheap, but they are a ton of fun, and I think they're great, and the compatibility with the other toys in the line makes them even more fun and feels like I'm getting my money's worth because there's a lot you can do with it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.